You weren't even here. What did you expect us to do? Wait? That's what my mother said when I asked why the locks felt different in my hand. I was still in uniform, duffel bag biting into my shoulder, standing on a porch with a name on the mailbox that wasn't mine anymore. 11 months later, a county recorder, a man named Hal, and a folder with a brittle rubber band would say otherwise. But that's not even the part that broke them. The part that broke them walked through the door 40 minutes into dinner, carrying a manila envelope older than my driver's license. Welcome back to Quiet Reckoning, where the people who underestimate you are always the ones holding the microphone when it happens. If you've ever come home to find your family had already decided you didn't count, this one's for you. Comment the word deployed if you've ever been the one who paid for a life you weren't invited into. Subscribe, because this gets worse before it gets righteous. My name is Reina Castillo. I'm 31, and I work military records and claims, chain of custody, mostly. Who signed what, when, and whether the paper trail actually matches the story people tell about it. I grew up the one who remembered the insurance renewal date. I became reliable the way some kids become invisible, quietly, and because nobody else volunteered. For 6 years, I'd sent $38,400 toward my parents' mortgage from wherever I was stationed. I didn't do it for love, exactly. I did it because somewhere along the way I'd decided being needed was the same thing as being safe. The night before I deployed, my grandfather set a sealed folder on the foot of my bed, the way a man sets down something heavy he's carried a long way. Just in case, he said. I didn't open it. I didn't ask. Some part of me already knew not to. My mother ran the family like a board meeting she'd appointed herself chair of. My father signed whatever she put in front of him and called it keeping the peace. My brother Caleb had never organized a holiday, paid a vendor, or driven anyone to a doctor's appointment in his life. He was the investment. I was the infrastructure. Then there was Grandpa Hal. In my phone, he was just Grandpa H. I almost never called him. I had no idea his name was still on a piece of paper that mattered more than anyone in that house remembered. It started small. My parents stopped mentioning the house on calls. I noticed the silence before I noticed anything missing. Then Caleb posted a photo. Renovating my house. And I read it twice from a cot 7,000 miles away, telling myself it was just a caption. Then my mother texted asking for $4,200 for the transfer paperwork fees. I sent it. I didn't ask what transfer. I didn't ask what fee. I should have. Some part of me already knew. Then a friend back home mentioned, almost in passing, that the deed had been quit-claimed to Caleb 3 months earlier, filed with money I myself had wired. And then the worst one, a housewarming photo. My parents and Caleb, arms around each other on the porch, captioned keeping the house in the family. 40-some comments. Cousins. Aunts. Congratulations. My name nowhere. When I finally called and asked why nobody told me, my mother didn't hesitate. You weren't even here. What did you expect us to do? Wait? I noticed something else, too, reading the comments back later. A cousin had joked that the lawyer handling it was old school, still using paper deeds instead of digital filings. I didn't think much of it then. Alone, off shift, I did what I do for a living. I pulled the county recorder's database the way I'd pull a service record. The 1998 original deed had 3 names on it. The new filing had 2. One name had simply never been removed in 26 years, and nobody had asked him. Hal's. I read the filing twice before I let myself breathe. Then I noticed a voicemail from him. 6 months old, never played. Recorded the week I deployed. If you've ever paid for a home that was never legally yours to begin with, stay for this part. Subscribe now, because what Hal says next is the reason this story has an ending at all. I played the voicemail. Hal's voice, slow and certain, I never signed off that title. Figured it was time to make that official, finally. I opened the folder from the foot of my bed for the first time. Inside was a photocopy of the original deed. His name circled in his own pen, decades old. My parents' only weapons had always been guilt and silence. Mine was a filing date. I called him back. I said 2 words, I'm in. The second housewarming dinner. Relatives at the table, candlelight, Caleb at the head like he'd built the house with his hands. My mother stood to toast, keeping the house in the family, and added, with a little laugh aimed my way, "Some of us weren't even here. What did we expect? Wait forever?" I set the folder on the table. The rubber band had gone brittle. It left a groove in the paper. My mother cycled through everything she had. Warmth first. "We just wanted to surprise you." Then guilt. "After everything we did for you." Then anger. The room didn't move. Then the door opened, and Hal walked in carrying his own copy of the same deed. He said it plainly. His name had never left the title. The transfer to Caleb wasn't valid. He was reasserting his interest and naming me alongside him. The room went silent in a way I felt more than heard. Someone's chair scraped against the floor. I looked at the room, not at my mother. "I wasn't here," I said. So I made sure I'd never have to ask permission to be again. Then I left. Hal's claim held. The county froze the filing pending correction. Caleb had 60 days to move out. My mother called 2 lawyers. Both told her the same thing. At the table that night, my father said my name once, started to stand, then looked down at his plate and didn't finish whatever he meant to say. I understood my mother a little better after. She'd spent her own childhood as somebody's load-bearing wall, and instead of breaking that pattern, she'd handed it to me. These days, I call Hal every Sunday. The house has both our names on it now. Nobody's waiting on anybody. I used to believe being needed was the same as being loved. The deed taught me otherwise. Love doesn't require a filing fee, and people who actually want you there don't wait for you to prove it from 7,000 miles away. If this reminded you to check whose name is actually on the thing you've been paying for, take that as your sign. Send this to the sibling who's always been the infrastructure and never the investment. Drop a comment. Hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.